Hello, everybody. Today we're back in England and we are flying the L-4 observation airplane used in World War II, the Korean War, and also in the Vietnam War. And this is the uh, observation version of it, with, of course, the D-Day markings. Very cool looking airplane. The texture is not anything super duper, but it does look pretty good, you have to admit. Let's take a look inside. And you can see the back seat there, the radio gear in the back, and the big old antenna sticking way up there. And some of the cool features. So we can open these doors up, which is very cool. And if you want to do it from the inside, there's the upper door. And I believe this is the lower door, yeah. Pretty cool. And if you want to bring your pilots in, the pilots are now in. And this little tab here is for tie downs. You can see the tie downs are out. Pretty cool looking. And there's our vintage L-4 pilots, which would typically be a pilot and an observer, but a lot of times they were both pilots. And one thing I found out was that J3 Cubs civilian models, well, really all J3 models, were to be flown solo from the back seat because of weight and balance issues. But in the military, it was not uncommon that the pilot would just jump in the front seat and fly it without a passenger in the back. Now, I know that there was probably a lot of weight in the back with radio gear and stuff like that, so maybe it offset it a little bit, but other than that, yeah, I thought that was pretty unusual. Okay, well, let's fire this puppy up. So, one of the things we want to do, of course, well, actually, I don't want to do that yet because I think the starter in this one is actually attached to the mags. So we'll check the throttle right quick. We'll open it up just slightly. And this should be, yeah, anti-ice. Not quite sure where there it is. So that's carb heat. It's kind of hard to get that line on there. This is your pitch, and then this is your fuel selector, which would be off all the way back. Forward would be on. So, and as you can see, we have heel brakes, which in the original J3 Cubs, the ones I've flown, real ones are not the best brakes in the world, depending on what you got in them, I guess. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so we got to start. There's some brakes here. Now, I don't know if parking brakes work or not on this puppy. I doubt it. Let's see here. No, they don't. All right. And she taxis around pretty nice. Pretty much like a J3 would taxi around. They pivot around pretty easy. So the L-4s had a lot of history. With this one right here would be, has its D-Day invasion stripes painted on it, so it means it was used in D-Day as part of the fleet. It's kind of funny because when the order came out for all airplanes involved in D-Day were to have the invasion stripes put on them, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that order was put out the day before D-Day. So a lot of the paint marks on the various planes were not done by what you would call a pinstriper, that's for sure. They were painted on with brushes, mops, anything at all they could get their hands on to make the stripes. And of course, you know, on some of these models, they depict a pretty clean, detailed paint job as far as the markings go. But in real life, it wasn't so. If you look at some of the DC-3s, those lines were done rather quickly. But it was an order, and the reason was some lessons learned in Italy from friendly fire, from your ground units not quite able to identify who's who. So if it was an airplane and they couldn't identify it, or they were a little on the jittery side, they're going to shoot at you. So the general, I believe it was Eisenhower, put out, hey, I want everything painted with invasion stripes. That was gliders, bomber, everything. So pretty cool that they did that, and I'm sure it saved them a lot of friendly fire, pretty sure. Alright, so we're going to take off on runway 24 here. Could use the grass, but I don't mind using a pavement. Now, to do a engine run-up in a J3, you usually take the stick and you hook your right arm around the stick and hold it back, and apply your brakes with your heels. Hold your brakes while you're doing the run-up. But I don't have enough fingers and hands and preset buttons here right now to accomplish that, so we'll just assume this girl's ready to fly. Alright, let's go ahead and get her off the ground. Temperature is nice, above 40. Oil pressure is good. And guess what? That's about it. Fuel, right here. Looks like we got enough fuel in her. We have an airspeed indicator, RPM gauge, heading indicator, altimeter, primer, and think that is about all the cool stuff we have. Yeah. And our pilots are looking pretty dapper in there. They look like they're ready to go, huh? Let's do it. Here we go. Quite a bit of weight on this plane right now, so with 2 people and radio gear, probably take a little more airspeed than normal to take off. There's 60. I mean, I'm sorry, 50. There's 60. I think we can get her off. There we go. And I'll pull the engine back just a little bit. Give that engine a little bit more lifetime. Now the Cubs, you know, most people think you could just yank and bank these things. You can with airspeed, but I'm telling you, if you get too slow and try to yank and bank, you're going in, because they will tip stall pretty easy. Not like a lot of other planes, but they will tip stall on you. Say hello to the guys in the tower. Sure they appreciate that. All right, let's climb up. That's just slightly less than 50, about 45. And she's wanting to settle in, so we'll just kind of do some lazy 8s here while we're pulling back on the stick. Don't want to get too much bank in. So observation was what this plane was, utilized for in the military, and also liaison. They were flown in between units. A lot of your artillery units, had J3s, L4s assigned to them. I'm going to keep calling it J3 because that's what it is. But a lot of the artillery units in World War II all had J3s and or L4s attached to them, and they were utilized to call fire as spotters, and very successful. Very successful. Let's see if I can trim this. Trim her just a little bit. I got a little bit too much down trim. There we go. That's a little better. Take a little pressure off the stick. Let's see, what do we got over here? Interesting looking. It's kind of the Korean symbol below us. Very interesting. I like flying around the English countryside. Quite a bit of it is modern nowadays, but there is a lot of older structured homes in England, and very old. And I've always liked the kind of always liked the architecture. All right, let me trim her down now just a little bit. So there's the L-4, and only one of the many liveries. There is L-4 on floats, and I believe that's a Navy plane. And then there's some, I believe, some civilian replica models, and then there's the military liveries. So plenty of different planes to fly around into and get immersed in, depending on what you're doing. Now, if you're looking to do some flying that you would basically do back in World War II or the Korean War or the Vietnam War, you know, there's plenty of scenarios you could set yourself up and locations, put you in the proper setting. So I'll show you right quick, just a little bit of rudder. Pretty sensitive. There's just slightly around 100 knots, which I wouldn't suggest anybody do. Then when you try to do a roll, she just kind of falls out of the sky on you. So you have to get quite a bit of airspeed up to get that roll accomplished. I know it will do a loop if you got plenty of altitude. So let's go ahead and go to the slew mode, and we're just going to bring her up here to altitude. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to pull the power back, idle, bring the nose up just ever slightly. We'll see what she does on a stall. There she broke. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I got my, I think I might have my stall thing turned on here. Anti-stall, yeah, let's turn that off. Let's try that again. Here we go. She should just drop straight forward. Look, she turned the wing. She dropped the wing. I'm surprised at that. But it could very well happen. Let's give a direction change here. Let's put her in this heading here. Try the same thing. Power back, nose back, holding it back, holding it back, holding it back. And that was not so bad. She wanted to drop a little bit, but not much. So, you know, depending on your wind, whether she's going to drop that wing or not. So let's go with a power on stall. Let's get her up to 80. Whoop, a little too much airspeed there, Larry. But she came out on her own. Came out on her own, what she's supposed to. So then we'll try, I think, this is what usually will get you in trouble. Notice how she's just holding that one wing up. Opposite rudder. And pull her out. And watch your airspeed. So the L-4 is very, very versatile. I mean, they're very forgiving. A lot of pilots were trained in L4s, J3s, and a lot of them went on and flew them in the war, which was a pretty cool job, I think. I wouldn't have minded. I don't think I would have minded being a spotter, or especially for artillery. But again, they were used for liaison too, flying generals, colonels, majors around from place to place. They were also fitted with gurneys so that you could transport medical patients from one place to another, especially into a mass unit. And these planes will land pretty much anywhere. You got a good enough size field, you're going to be able to get it in. So we're coming back to the airfield. I'm going to do a grass landing here. And I've got my power all the way back right now. She's just floating in. I just kind of stalled her in there a little bit. That was a little rough. So I think we have a sister ship up here, if I'm not mistaken. I think I see one up here, yeah. We'll go by, we'll go back up here and park next to the brother. Love the greenhouse roof on the L4s. Again, for observation purposes, that's perfect. The typical J3 that you see today does not have the greenhouse roof, and it's not extended beyond the back seat. Slow this girl down just a little bit here. Again, the brakes on these things are not the best. So we're having to hold the brakes on while we do this. So we kill that, and we'll put our tie downs down, and we'll let the pilot and the observer clear out. Let's see if we got her tied down or not. Did she do it? No. Let me try that again. Right? Yeah, there we go. It worked that time. So we're all tied down. Sitting next to our brother. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Pretty cool plane. Again, these are on sale. And if you like vintage airplanes, especially warbirds, this is a pretty cool one to have, you know. All right. I will talk to you all later.